Well, today's episode, the saga continues with more WWE releases. We also are going to add in a DDT Pro Wrestling event that took place this past March. Also going to throw in 205 Live and, of course, New Japan Ignition, which continues on with the main event being Carl Fredericks challenging for the Strong Openweight title against Tom Lawler. So, let's get started with another episode of Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted WrestleZone. All things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I'm your host, J-Rod here. Now, before I begin talking with about the releases that took place today, and of course, with other things, you guys may have noticed throughout this episode, there'll be some certain background changes in this episode. As you're probably wondering where I'm at right now, this is near the front door of my house, basically. If I need to do a review during the day, this is where I do it. But if I did it in the middle of the night, it would be in my own room because everybody else is asleep in my house. I don't like to wake up people. So if you guys think it's ridiculous or you think you're cool with it, just leave a comment down below and we'll see what we go from there. But right now, let's get started. Okay, as I mentioned this before earlier, the saga continues with WWE. As you know now, it's been announced that there have been some wrestlers, there were going to be some more cuts before today. Now, I mentioned this before. This dates back all the way to the 15th of April, which was ironically the 1-year anniversary since Black Wednesday, which WWE released 40 plus wrestlers. Now, a month after the initial day this year, there were more releases, but this time came in from NXT, and then, of course, another ones, which were wrestlers that were surprisingly been released, like Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, and all this and that. But, however, recently we have been we're told there will be more cuts, and so far, about more names, this is a bigger list than the previous ones in the last couple of months. So here are the names so far that were announced, that were released. August Gray. I was deeply shocked about that name. Tyler Breezango. Everrise, Chase Parker and Matt Martell. Tony Nese, Aria Daivari, a writer named Kenneth Mobley. Killian Dane, Marina Schaefer, Atua Ruas, Kurt Stallion, the Bollywood Boys, Samir and Sunil Singh. So far, these are the names that are now currently been released. Now, let's talk about this one. And first, I want to get this one out of the way. Kenneth Mobley, the writer, apparently spoke out about they put her in a position where she didn't know what Lucha Libre is. And this is a very strange thing, because Jim Ross mentioned this, that none of these writers know what pro wrestling is. Like, they're treating it like it's Hollywood. And even she said that they made a mockery of it. I have to say, this is a really ridiculous. You shouldn't put someone in this position. But she'll be fine. We all know that. They'll find somewhere better. But however, the wrestlers that were released, the ones who I'm very much surprised, is August Gray. August Gray is a household name now in 205 Live, and I'm sure we would have loved to seen him continue more with Ikemanjiro, and I'm like, surprised they'll let him go. I don't know what's gonna happen to him, but it's surprising me. Fandango, Breezango, Tyler Breeze and Fandango. Really surprisingly, but apparently, I don't know, because the thing is, we know they had a good run as the NXT Tag Team Champions, and of course, you know, how do I say this? that I know Tyler Breeze will be fine because we know he's teaching. He has a wrestling school along with his friend and co-owner, Sean Spears of AEW. So we know he'll be fine, but we don't know if they will be picked up by any promotion at this point. We probably know that many of these people may have anywhere from 30 to 90-day no compete clause. Everrise. To be honest with you, Everrise, they are more of a comical act to me. But however, I don't know if we were ever going to see them get pushed. That's one of the things I can say. But however, recently, today, I did notice a tweet from none other than the Machine Gun Carl Anderson saying to Impact they should sign them. I think it would be a good thing because they would probably want to have more stacked tag teams in Impact, which is going to be good. And frankly, I'm all for it. That's the case. But I hope we can just drop the comical act and just put them, be a serious tag team. Because we all know how WWE operates when they make wrestlers do things they don't want to, but they did it anyway. Tony Nese, well, we can know he's a terrific athlete. The real question is where we end up. I say, my opinion, he probably would end up in Impact Wrestling. But I don't know why they released him, because he remained in 205 Live. He was amongst the last of the breed, the original 205 Lives that remain in 205 Live. He could have gone with Raw or SmackDown, but he didn't. He stayed in 205 Live, along with another 205 original, the younger brother of Daivari, Arya Daivari, and it was surprising too to let him go. I don't recall if he ever won the Cruiserweight title, but we know he'll be fine. He'll probably end up somewhere. It wouldn't surprise me if he decides to join his brother Sean in MLW to be part of Contra Unit. And if Nico says here, he probably would say this right here in front of you guys, saying Contra or Hell Contra or something like that. Who else? Killian Dane. Okay. This is the third member so far from Sanity. There's only one left, and that is his wife, Nikki Cross. Now, this is going to be another difficult situation with Killian Dane. As you know, we have seen many wrestlers who still have their spouses or girlfriends remaining in the company they're in. We had that with Sean Spears and Jon Moxley. But, however, this is going to be a very interesting. Do I see Killian Dane somewhere? I'm not sure. But I'm sure he'll be around to be with his wife as possible. We don't know. But Killian Dane was one of the surprising ones. And then, of course, there's Marina Shafir, who was part of the MMA Four Horsemen. We haven't seen her for quite some time. Not since Shayna Baszler actually left to the main roster. We know that Jessamine Duke was recently released a few months ago. About 2 or 3 months ago. During the NXT releases. That was a bit surprising, but we can say, okay, another member of that is gone. Then there's Atua Ruas. We haven't seen this guy for who knows how long. I mean, we know he was going to be in NXT, and we haven't seen him since. Last time I saw him, he was at that Raw Underground, and it was like, we don't know what happened. They just put him in, lost him in the shuffle somewhere. And then Kurt Stallion. I haven't seen this guy either. He seems like a prominent wrestler, but we haven't seen him since. I don't know what happened either with him. And then, of course, the Bollywood boys, Sumir and Sunil. We have seen them recently appearing at 205 Live majority of the time. I don't know why they released him. To be honest with you, I would prefer if these two guys would have stayed, because they would have helped out with the NXT India, because they're Hindu. It would have given them benefits, but I don't think that's probably the case. But now let's talk about the reasons why these cuts happened. Apparently, it was rumored coming in that the reason these cuts happened for all of these guys was the fact they need to cut down on expenses. I'm like, okay. But the reason behind that was because they want to get bigger names into the company. I'm like, okay, who's the bigger names? Now, it would be interesting because if you guys all recall, after not too long ago, Eva Marie made her reappearance making these vignettes. And fans took offense to that because they questioned, okay, You got rid of Mickie James to bring her back, and I think we don't know if that's the same case where they want to bring back certain wrestlers that are bigger names than these guys. It would make sense. Or there are bigger names of wrestlers that are currently in the independents they want to sign. So far, I haven't heard anything if there's any wrestlers that are done with ROH or Impact or anything like that, or AEW. So practically, I don't know. But we'll see what happens. But just to let you guys know, we know these guys will be fine. We know that certain wrestlers are getting a bigger opportunities from other promotions. We already seen that with Andrade. We've seen that with Steve Macklin, who's now in Impact. Anything could happen for them. They could go with Impact, NWA, AEW, or possibly MLW. But for now, let's just give them our support, and we'll probably see them soon, somewhere in the future, whatever promotion they end up. Okie dokie. Normally I do this in the end where I review past wrestling events coming from Japan, but this time I'm just going to do this, right away because, I'm changing certain things up for today. But right now we got DDT Pro Wrestling with Daydreamer Behavior 2021. This took place back in March 14th of 2021 at Korakuen Hall. First match was more of a, young boys type match, which is Toy Kojima versus Hideki Okatani. To be honest with you, I wasn't too much sold on this, but it was a very interesting match because, much like I watched with New Japan with the Young Lions, it's kind of similar, but sometimes I pay attention, okay, who could most likely be advancing, but from the way I see in this one, I feel like Toy Kojima has a little bit more to learn, but Okatani, he's basically learning, getting up to the advancement on that. But that's how I see it. But it was Okatani who won the match for this one against Kojima. The next match was for the DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight title in a 6-man tag team match. Now, if you recall a while back, there was a bit of a funny comedic with the... If you guys are familiarized with the Iron Man Heavy Metalweight title, is a 24/7 belt. Basically, you defend it 24/7. The current champion is none other than Saki Akia's photo book, lip hip shake. So basically, the book teamed up with Saki Akia and Antonio Honda to take on Keigo Nakamura, Dan Shuko's Dino, and of course the Young Bucks Killing the Business book. So it was a very funny, thing with both teams. However, during this entire time, they had to deal with this guy in the back. I don't know if he's a fan or a worker. Because of what happened the previous time, Kazuki Irada actually brought the book and took it from the owner. And now the owner wants the book back. However, it didn't go in that way. The guy was using a spoon like a knife. I'm like thinking, what the hell? Why do you bring a spoon? It wouldn't kill you. I'm like, anybody seen the movie Robin Hood with Kevin Costner, where the sheriff of Buckingham says, the Nottingham will say, "I will kill you with a spoon." It kind of made me think of that. But however, the match ended beautifully with Keigo Nakamura winning the match, winning the DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight title. However, like I said before, the title is 24/7. Saki she pinned Keigo Nakamura and won the title. However, once again, the crazy fan showed up and chased them down. I thought it was so hilarious. But it was a fun match. But I don't know what's going to happen then. The next match, it's a fatal four-way tag team match. We got Yuki Ino teaming up with Yuki Onaya versus Damnation's Matt Pauly and Daisuke Sasaki versus the 37 Kamina with Mao and Konosuke Takeshita, and finally Disaster Box, Harashima, and Toru Owashi. Originally, the match started early because Damnation attacked the other two wrestlers, but however, when Disaster Box saw what was going on, they rushed down to the ring. However, they missed a step and they got locked out to get in, but however they did. The match was kind of interesting because, you know, normally you see this, Damnation always cheats their way through, but somehow it was Disaster Box that picked up the victory, all thanks to Toru Owashi, who picked up the victory for his team. Don't know if they will be amongst those that would challenge for the KOD tag team titles that are currently being held by Eruption. Now, speaking of Eruption, they ended up in the match, consistent of Yukio Sakaguchi and Kasusada Aguchi, taking on Genretsu's Makoto Orashi and Jun Akiyama. The match was good. It was more of a warm-up match. Now, this match was a non-title match, but however, if these guys if Junretsu were able to pick up a victory, they would get a tag team titles for the KOD tag team titles. However, it didn't happen that way. Both teams ended up in double countout. I would have liked to see this match go with Junritsu, but like I said, there's many tag teams around, and we just gotta wait and see what's gonna happen. Now, the next match is a title match. This is for the DDT Extreme Championship in a barbed wire casket death match. You probably say, what the F? It's a barbed wire casket match. What should I say? My bad, I said a barbed wire casket death match. Well, basically the idea, much like casket matches, you put the opponent, but there's other toys to use. Basically anything that could help. Now, the opponent, the challenger, is Chris Brooks, who have challenged for this title. However, he does have history with the champion, Shunma Katsumata. They both known each other for years, and this time this is more of a bit of a, how do I put this, a retribution from those years of rivalry. It was a good match. Now, when it comes to extreme matches, and when you see Katsumata in DDT, he actually dresses up like the Joker. You probably say to me, what the fudge? For real? Yes, guys. Whenever when he does extreme death matches in DDT, he dresses up as the Joker. I don't know if that's like an alter ego, but it's always fascinating. This is the second time I've seen him in a Joker get-up, but it was fun. But the match was so crazy. Even Druids showed up. I don't know what the hell was that all about. This is not the Undertaker, but it was a good match. But however, somehow Chris Brooks was able to put Katsumata in the casket and win the match. Now, in later events with DDT, they did announce there's going to be a major 8-man tag team match. They already announced for one team. I cannot cannot remember which one, but one of the teams consistent of the Japanese version of Stone Cold, Shanshiro Tagaki. He already picked his team. One of them is Yukio Naya. The other two, I don't remember who they were, but it's going to be an interesting matchup to see. Now, the next match is for the KOD 6-man tag team match. This is between Damnation, who called out the challenge, consistent of Soma Takoa, Yuji Ino, and Tetsuya Endo, taking on the champions Kazuki Irada, Shota, and Akito. So basically, they wanted a challenge for these titles, and of course, the champions gladly accepted. Now, you would have assumed in every way this is going to be a good match because it is. I have to say, Damnation had a good combination of the 6-man tag with Takoa, Ino, and Endo in it, because they seem like a very solid tag team, and I have to say it was pretty impressive. However, it was Damnation, thanks to Tetsuya Endo, who pulled it off for his team, winning the 6-man tag team championship. So, however, who will be the next challengers? That is yet to be seen, but like I said, I'm still catching up with more of the DDT stuff. You guys will be seeing that soon. Now, the main event is for the DDT Universal title between Yosuke Okada and Yukio Unio. Okada actually called out Unio for a chance at the title, and he did. It was a pretty good match. Now, some fans probably would have thought, oh, Okada was going to win. He's not in relations with Kaguchi Okada, in case you're wondering. There is no... I looked it up. There's no relation between them. But you would have assumed Yusuke Okada would have been the one to win because he had the much better experience. But however, it was Yuki Uno who won due to the fact because he's the most popular liked wrestler and the top star. And you know, that's always been played out. And I think the match was very amazing with Yuki Uno winning the match, retaining it. But he did state it out plans that he wants to expand the faction that he formed called the 37 Kanima, and I have to say it's pretty good. He even called out Mao and Takashita, and I can't believe that they're going to do this. And we don't know. I don't know who will be challenging him, but sooner or later, Unio will have to put that title on the line. Whoever challenges him. So that's it for now. I'll be back with more. Okay, 205 Live. I did mention before many wrestlers from that division from WWE, the 205 Live brand, were released. And of course, I would not imagine this would be the last time seeing them, or I'm not sure if the following next episodes with the 205 Live will feature them. But anyway, we'll just explain what happened this part of 205 Live. It opened up with Hikamanjiro taking on Arya Daivari. Now, this match was basically following up after what happened with Tony Nese losing to Hikamanjiro. Now, Arya Daivari believed that he could take him on. Basically, he had no luck. I mean, I love Hikamanjiro. I think he is a great wrestler, but there's also that indication, could he ever be the wrestler that WWE wants, because we always had those indications. But yeah, I have to say, do I see him competing in NXT for the Cruiserweight title? I have to say that would be a possibility. But seeing Hikamanjiro beat Arya Daivari was great. But I'm not sure if this was the last taping they ever had with Arya Daivari being in this, because we all know 205 Live is not a televised show. You can only see it on the Peacock network. So practically that's what it was. But it was a good match, I'm not gonna lie. Now the main event is also another story. Similar, same story, but as you know, this match features Grey Waller taking on August Grey. To be honest with you, I would say the same thing about August Grey, since I mentioned earlier that he was released too. However, I don't know if this was like the right way to let him go. I mean, with Arya Daivari and him losing their matches was the proper way. I'm not sure, because it would have been like a sad thing for us. I mean, look, I'm a big fan of Arya Daivari's brother, Sean. And then, of course, August Grey. He's a very hard worker from what people say. He was an amazing wrestler. Grey Waller, I'm barely getting to know the guy, but Grey Waller did pull up a good victory in every way. But it was a good match. But do we think 205 Live will be the same? I don't know. But I'm like getting in that back of my mind right now. I had that distinct feeling, what if they're going to shut down 205 Live? That is like one of those things that could go up in my head. I'm not 100% sure. But we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks in 205 Live, where they're going to go with this. I mean, they do have some good talent involved in the 205 Live brand. So right now, I'll end it right here with the 205 Live and move on with New Japan Strong Ignition Series. New Japan Strong continues with Ignition, with the main event being for the Strong Openweight title. Now let's go with the first two matches before we get to that. The opening match was a tag team match. We have the Young Lions, the DKC and Kevin Knight taking on Wheeler Yuta and Fred Yehi. So practically this was a very good tag team match. Reason is this. Normally when we see young lions, their indication we always see them lose. Now, the only way a young lion could win if they face a young lion within their own kind. So basically we've seen that, but when it comes to them facing wrestlers who are not part of the young lions system, who are not training in them, it's always that whole thing. However, I have to say this match did pretty good for the young lions. They did some great work, even though that it was Yuta who picked up the victory. Now, you probably say, but isn't it Young Lions are part of the New Japan? Yes, but the Young Lions, they're only are training. They're learning methods. You see, Young Lions are limited to use whatever moves they're supposed to do because it's their way of their training. They have to master the technique in order to make it work for them when they put the work. So that's pretty much what happens. Limited moves. But I have to say they did a pretty good job. I have to say DKC and Kevin Knight worked together pretty well as a tag team. But however, it was Wheeler and Yuta and Yehai that actually won this match, all thanks to Yuta. So pretty impressive match. I can't wait to see what those two teams will do in tag team turbulence in the next 2 weeks. Now the next match was a grudge match between Clark Connors and Rocky Romero. Now this match was sort of in the making. Rocky Romero was in a tag team match with Lio Rush, while Clark Connors teamed up with, I think it was Alex Coughlin, or I don't remember. But anyway, there was like a bit of a fight between both Clark Connors and Rocky Romero. And this is like one of those matches where it was pretty good because Clark Connors, who's the recent graduate of the LA Dojo, facing off a long-reigning wrestler like Rocky Romero, it kind of fit pretty well in every aspect. And I think it told a story like Clark Connors is not going to tolerate a guy like Rocky Romero, because we've seen Clark Connors how much he's progressed over the year, over who knows how long he's been with the LA Dojo. But it was a good match. But it was for Clark Connors who pulled off the upset. Do we think this is this match is over between them? I don't know. We'll just wait and see what's going to happen in the upcoming weeks. Now the main event, the Strong Openweight Championship between the recent graduate, one of the graduates of the LA Dojo, the Alpha Wolf, Carl Fredericks, taking on Tom Lawler. I have to say this match was also good. Now, do I think it's one of the best? To be honest with you, no. It was good, not the best. But it did tell like how Carl Fredericks was willing to prove himself since he left the LA Dojo, that he can succeed. That's always been his game plan. But however, I think Tom Lawler had other ideas when he was able to put away Clark Connors to 1, 2, 3. It appears, if you guys don't know this or not, I've been paying attention a lot. It's like Tom Lawler has a problem with Shibata. I think he thinks that his teaching methods are making the young lions weak, teaching them how to be pathetic. And I think he wanted Carl Fredericks to join him, but Fredericks is not the type of guy who just joins somebody if you have a problem with his mentor. But however, they gave him a beatdown. But apparently, when you mess with someone like Carl Fredericks, you deal with the legend. I'm talking about Satoshi Kojima, who now declared himself the next challenger for the Strong Openweight title. I have to say, I'm excited for that. So that's going to be one of those matches I got to pay attention, and I know some of you are. So we'll pay attention what's going to happen in the upcoming weeks for New Japan Strong. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of me reviewing, of course, the recent releases of WWE, DDT Pro Wrestling 205 Live, and New Japan Strong. However, I want to give an update on the recent releases of WWE. I just found out through a friend of mine that they had one more release and it was the last. And this guy is Tino Zabatelli. If you guys know who he is, he is currently, I'm not sure if it's 100% true. I don't know if he's still dating Mandy Rose, who is the current wrestler in Raw. If you guys recall, Tino Sabatelli was released last year, and then he ended up going to AEW. Basically, he was a guy spying for them. Now, you probably say, ooh, that is bad. It is. I think WWE sent them there to find out what is the deal with AEW, like why fans are into them. But however, he did got reinstated, and now he's back. Now, if I was the AEW, don't sign the guy because you don't know if he still works for Vince. That's gonna suck. But so Tino Sabatelli is the last to be released, so that's the latest update. So I think that's it right now. So coming up, I got AEW Dynamite. This will be the last time AEW will be doing a show on a Saturday. They're going back this Wednesday for a show, and of course there'll be others than that. And don't forget, the main event is gonna be the AEW World Title between Jungle Boy and Kenny Omega. And I think that's all for now. If I throw in another wrestling show, you guys will get to see that. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.